Hello, audience! Welcome back to the Human Paradox Podcast. I'm your co-host, Aaron, as always, joined by my co-host, Ben, and I am really fucking pumped because less than about 45 seconds ago, we just finished, WrestleMania 38 Night 1 just came to a close, and it was way better than I thought it was going to be. Would you agree, Ben?
Yeah, before you got off on a tyrant.
Tyrant?
Not a tyrant.
You mean tirade?
A tirade.
Yeah?
Yeah. I just want to say, we've had this conversation in the past where you've said things that I definitely agree with. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily agree with it as much as I do now, and that thing is AEW can make a top-notch pay-per-view and it'd be an A-plus pay-per-view. But when WWE does a top-notch A-plus pay-per-view, it doesn't even come close. The other companies to WWE.
So you're agreeing with that statement that I made.
I agree with you. I think tonight showed, first and foremost,
the reference that he's talking about, because I don't know if I've said it on the show before, is that AEW's great. WWE's not great right now.
But when they try,
because they don't try. But when WWE tries, it's not even a competition. AEW trying compared to WWE trying, it's like comparing a 5 to a 10. Just WWE proves that they are the best when they try. And tonight, to me, was... I mean, it wasn't perfect, right? No pay-per-view is perfect. Even my favorite pay-per-view of all time, WrestleMania 30, was not perfect,
exactly.
Right? But this was a pretty damn near close to perfect as you could get, I thought, right?
So the biggest gripes coming into this was there was next to no build.
Build?
Yes, build for the pay-per-view. I would say, yes, that matters, especially for people who are hardcore wrestling fans. You know, I guess it was the Becky Lynch match. You said it was an amazing match, but you weren't really into it because the build was really shitty.
Yeah, and we can get into that because I wanted to run through the matches as they happen. We're going to be reviewing Night 1 and Night 2. We're going to upload these right after they happen, so that way you guys could get our thoughts on them after the pay-per-views happened. And that's why we wanted to kind of go through the matches as we watch them, right?
Yeah, but a quick overall on the show.
Yeah, quick overall spoilers. I liked it.
So WWE didn't really have the best build for this WrestleMania. All of the promo packages I thought were pretty damn good. Like the video packages before the matches.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, there's still half of WrestleMania to go. So Night 2 could suck, and it could ruin everything. I don't think it will. But if I were to compare this to any WrestleMania right now, I would have to compare it to WrestleMania 31.
And you consider that to be the best?
31, no, I don't think 31 is the best WrestleMania. But 31 was, think about it, right after what a lot of people consider to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 30.
Me.
There was next to no build, and nobody was happy about
the card.
About the card. You had Triple H versus Sting, which everybody liked, but you had The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. Nobody really cared. You had Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. Nobody really cared. The Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Nobody really cared. The main event, everybody didn't want, and it was, of course, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
And now...
very similar to this, but we look upon that WrestleMania with such reverence because of how well the performance was. Every single match was good. Yeah. The main event freaking slapped. And, you know, because that was right after the 2015 Royal Rumble, so everybody hated Roman at that point. But when Seth cashed in the Money in the Bank, they threw loops. This WrestleMania, they throw loops at you.
And it's funny to me that you make that comparison because...
a lot of people would also try and compare this to WrestleMania 17 because there was really not that much of a build for WrestleMania 17 either.
Hold on, I had a thought. I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you compare this Mania to WrestleMania 30 because, as you said, neither of them had any build to them. But when you think of WrestleMania, probably one of the first images that comes to your mind is Seth Rollins swinging the belt like a whip, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You think WrestleMania, and you think of a moment that belonged to a Mania that had no build whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You think of this WrestleMania, a WrestleMania that had no build to it whatsoever, and you are going to remember the Cody Rhodes debut forever. That's going to be a moment that we remember on the same level as the Rollins belt swing. Yeah. And both of them had no build for them.
So, honestly, when I think of 31, I do think of Sting. I do think of the cash in but the thing that comes to mind the most, like immediately, is that really sick RKO that Seth Rollins takes in his match with Randy. He like curb stomps him, but he jumps off. You've seen it, right?
He goes for a curb stomp, but like he pushes off of Randy Orton's head, gets airborne, and then Randy like catches him falling down for the RKO. I think that's the best RKO ever, honestly.
Yeah. If I had to predict how tomorrow's gonna go, I think the lineup match wise tomorrow is stronger than today.
I would disagree.
No, because the tag team match tomorrow is gonna slap so hard because it's Street Profits, RK Bro, and Alpha Academy. Everybody wants to see that match. Everybody like the one match that everybody cared about going into WrestleMania was Roman and Brock. That's the main event tomorrow. That's gonna be good. The only matches that I think people just don't really care about are Omos, that match, and the women's tag team match.
Okay.
You could say the Johnny Knoxville match, but I think that's going to be very entertaining.
Assuming that Johnny learns the basics of wrestling and actually sells this time around.
Well, it doesn't matter if he sells or not, because if he doesn't sell, Sammy's just going to kick him for real, like he did last time.
I am not a fan of celebrities coming into my favorite sport and making a mockery of it by not taking the training seriously. I'm not a big fan of that.
Caveat on that.
Bad Bunny and Logan Paul have shown that,
and Pat McAfee
have shown that celebrities, like, it doesn't take a lot of training, right? It takes the smallest amount of effort and the smallest amount of, I give a shit about this sport and I want to respect it. So when you hit me, I'm gonna make it look like you hit me.
I think there's a difference, and the difference is
between who?
So Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, and Logan Paul were all wrestling fans.
Yeah.
That probably approached WWE at some point before WWE approached them. Whereas Floyd Mayweather definitely, like, he had a good match. That's not a good example. Mr. T definitely did not approach the WWE. The WWE approached Mr. T for his match against, and Lawrence Taylor definitely did not approach the WWE. They were just like celebrities. Snooki was another one, right?
Don't remind me.
When you think about celebrity matches, they're mostly bad because they just go out and grab whoever is hot in pop culture right now. I don't know if it's a coincidence that the people who are hot in pop culture are the Paul brothers and Bad Bunny, or if something happened where it happened on their end instead of the WWE's end. But there has definitely been a high bar for celebrity matches ever since the first Pat McAfee match against the first Pat McAfee match against Adam Cole in NXT.
Yeah.
Every single celebrity match since then it's raised the bar.
Yeah.
Every single year.
The point that I'm trying to make is that old school mentality of like, the fact that the celebrity is in the ring at all should be enough for you because they're celebrities, they're not wrestlers. What are you expecting? That entire mindset is now completely dead because celebrities have shown, no, if you really care about the sport that you're taking a part of, then you'll give a damn, right?
Yeah.
A celebrity wouldn't go onto a football field and just without learning the basics of football. Why is it different for this? No, I expect them to actually learn. And as a result, I expect Johnny to sell if he takes a punch, and if he doesn't, then I'm gonna get pissed off, right?
Yeah. But we're gonna go through the card top to bottom, and we're going to
starting from the very top.
Yeah, and we're gonna deep dive into every single match because we both took notes.
Yeah, I took more than him, I think. But
okay, so the first match on the card.
Well, hold on. Before we get into the actual matches, I took a little bit of notes on the pre-show actually because I you and me were talking about this Jake Paul, right?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
You made the comment that you wouldn't mind seeing him in WWE either, right? I completely disagree, right? Now you say, you were saying, well, look at him, he's a good heel. Yeah, he's a good heel, but for the wrong reasons, right? A heel, at the end of the day, still knows that it's fake, right? Like you listen to some of the best heels, CM Punk and MJF, and yeah, they're saying horrible things, but at the end of the day, you can tell that, like, they're just saying the horrible things because they're a heel, right? They know that it's fake and they want to rally you up. There's a sort of playfulness to it, even in the most scumbaggy things that they've ever done, right? CM Punk singing "Happy Birthday" to Rey Mysterio's daughter, MJF talking about crucifying whoever on a cross.
Wardlow,
yeah, there's a slight playfulness to it, right? You listen to Jake Paul on the pre-show quote unquote riling up the fans. There's no playfulness. There's no haha, I'm a heel. It's just him saying,
You think he was just being a dick?
It's just yeah, because he sounds like that in all his YouTube videos. It's just him saying, "Come up here and fight me, bro. Come up and fight." And then you have Booker T and the girl with the
Caleb Braxton.
and Caleb Braxton and Booker T have to calm him down and say, whoa, calm down, because they don't want a fucking fight to break out. And Jake Paul doesn't understand it's wrestling. Get them to hate you, but don't take it personally. He's like, I was legitimately worried that he was gonna fucking fight somebody during that, right? Just the energy that he radiated and the way that he did it didn't make me go, wow, this guy's a bad guy and I love it. It made me uncomfortable, where I was like, this guy's gonna like legit get into a fist fight with a fan if he ever gets into a ring.
Okay, so first of all, that's all speculation on your part. He could 100% be just playing everybody, or he could not be.
I don't know.
I've gone on record before. I think the Paul brothers single-handedly saved the sport of boxing.
I would agree with that.
You know, there was a long stretch of time where there wasn't any really good heavyweight boxers. I'm not saying they're heavyweights, but I think the big draw in the sport of boxing was Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. There weren't those guys were the heavyweight guys. When they fought, guys got knocked the fuck out.
Well, because they were
so when the most popular boxers in the world are guys like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, they're little guys. They don't really knock everybody out all the time.
Yeah.
So when the Paul brothers got into the sport, they brought an entire YouTube fan base to the sport of boxing. Yes, they were fighting rappers and everything. That didn't really bother me, but the fact is they shined a spotlight on a dying sport, and it saved the sport. They made boxing more money than it has made in years.
It's not even just that they brought their fan base over, right? People want to see characters.
Oh, people want to see them both get beat the fuck up.
You know what? Well, I was gonna make the point of like it seems like people only really care about golf when Tiger Woods is golfing, right? That's because he's a recognizable face, name, and character, right? People want a character to latch onto that's memorable. Logan and Jake, regardless of how you feel about them, they're memorable. So coming to boxing, like you said, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, those were characters. Boxing didn't really have any distinct people to them.
So
and now they finally do.
Floyd Mayweather might be the greatest character in the history of boxing because he...
But wasn't he out for a little while, I thought?
No, so he created the Floyd Money Mayweather persona.
Okay.
Right, so I'm going to draw another comparison. Conor McGregor. He's not a total douchebag asshole. That's just the character that he plays because it makes people buy his fights.
Yeah.
Same with Money Mayweather. That's a character. Floyd Mayweather, the man. You'll hear it in post fight interviews. So before, during the press conferences, he's out there talking shit, being like completely illiterate, throwing $100 bills all over the place, being an asshole. And then after the fight, he'll actually like critique everything with an intelligent vernacular. Is a fancy word for you. And you can tell that, the Money character is a character.
Yeah.
I think what happened on the pre-show, I think Vince straight up told Jake Paul, we want your brother to get a chorus of boos. And if you go out there and look like an asshole and try and fight the fans, they're going to hate him even more by proxy.
Okay.
I think that's what happened. And he did a great job.
I understand everything that you're saying, but at the end of the day, I'm going with my gut. I don't know. I can. There's slight inflections in people's voices and in the way that they act that you can tell. You watch a Jake Paul video of him talking trash to anybody, and you watch how he was tonight. There was no difference. The way that all the people on commentary reacted, right?
All right. Do you think Eddie Kingston? Do you think Eddie Kingston is like, when he talks shit, that he actually wants to kill someone?
Well, that's a difference. Eddie Kingston is talking shit to wrestlers in the ring. He's not going to the crowd saying fucking.
He's said shit like that to fans before.
On AEW.
Not on AEW. Well, on AEW television, but mostly in the Indies.
Yeah.
Like he's acted like that with fans before. It's all part of the act.
I don't know.
Everything. So remember, it's just like a magic show. Every single thing that you see on the television screen is supposed to be there. Yeah. For some reason. Just like with a magic show.
I know how wrestling works.
You know what I mean?
I'm just talking purely off my gut. I don't like Jake Paul.
I think if he was on commentary for the pre-show, that was there by design, and he was supposed to draw heat for his brother. And he did a very good job of it.
I mean, Logan already had tons of heat going into it.
He had more because of his brother. Trust me. I wanted to see him get his ass beat even more after.
I don't know where he went. He like disappeared at the halfway point in the show. He might have gone back to be with Logan or something.
I don't know. But anyway.
So yeah, the first real match.
First real match on the card was for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
Shinsuke Nakamura, Rick Boogs, and
versus the Usos.
The Usos, yes.
So we found out very early on that maybe this is just me throwing shit out there. So if you notice the past couple weeks on SmackDown, Boogs and Nakamura were in like Toyota commercials.
Yeah.
They have a whole bunch of sponsorships. And then when they came out tonight, they had Mike's Harder Lemonade.
Mike's Hard Lemonade, yeah.
Yeah, they had that sponsorship essentially. And they same ring gear. So my gut feeling was, they were totally going to win the belts because that's marketing.
Yes.
That's marketing. If you have sponsorships, then you want those guys to have the championships because then you can make more money through sponsorships. Obviously, something went wrong in this match, and Rick Boogs is injured.
Yeah, and it went bad, but I don't even know if I can forgive the match for the fact that it.
You and I both.
I'm not going to give this match a rating because at the end of the day, I don't know what this match was supposed to be. I feel like this was a situation like with the Jurassic Express and the
Lucha Brothers,
yeah, it was an on the fly call where there's an injury, we're going to end it right now and just call it. So I'm not going to rate it, but I will say I don't feel like the injury was necessary, if that makes any sense, right? Because the whole. I think
Boogs and Nakamura were going to win the belts, 100%.
I would agree with you, but the injury, right? What happened was that Rick Boogs had one of the Usos, I don't remember which, on his shoulder.
I think it was Jay.
Yeah, he was like holding him up with both his hands, and to show off his strength, because that's what Rick Boogs does in his match, right? He dropped down to one knee, and then when he got up, he looked like he was kind of struggling, and then he lifted back up on one knee. I don't feel like that's what injured him.
No, so you're talking about the suplex. He held him straight up in the air, went for a suplex, and did a lunge, and then he suplexed him.
Yes,
and then he got him in a fireman's carry. Maybe like 2 minutes later.
That's right.
And then Jimmy jumped up on top of him, and it was supposed to be some sort of like Samoan drop type spot.
Let me clarify. Yeah, when I say Jimmy jumped on top of him, I mean Boogs had Jay in a fireman's carry, and then Jimmy went out of his way to jump on top of his brother and make it a double fireman's carry. And when I saw that, I said, why would he do that? Why would he not attack Boogs?
Because they were trying to do the John Cena spot from WrestleMania 25.
I understand that they're trying to do.
That's what they were trying to do.
I know that they're trying to do the spot, but the way that they went about it made no sense, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy has all the room in the world to work with. He could just punch him in the gut and have him drop his brother. Why does he go out of his way to run to the side and then jump on top of his brother and just lay there on top of there and then take the bump? It didn't make any sense. And the fact that Boogs got injured from a spot that didn't need to happen, I was like, okay, well, I guess that now Boogs needs surgery because they wanted to do a stupid spot that wouldn't have made sense. Like,
so honestly, at first I thought it was all a work and like he was just selling the leg to make the match like a 2-on-1 type thing, and he was eventually going to get a hot tag and they were going to win.
I even said that. You remember when they went for the pin? I said, okay, now Boogs comes in, and then that didn't happen, and we're like, oh, he's really injured.
I think if Boogs doesn't get injured, I trust the Usos enough to deliver a very, very good tag team match with anybody.
Yeah.
So I think the match would have been
the
amazing.
Match was fine. It only lasted like 8 minutes. It was very short. But while it was happening, it was fine. It's just that I don't like seeing wrestlers get injured. I don't like seeing them get wrestled. I don't like seeing them get injured, period. But I really don't like them getting injured over stupid shit that shouldn't be happening, right?
Fair enough. Like the Biggie.
The Biggie one, that was a little more acceptable, but again, that didn't need to happen.
It didn't need to happen.
That didn't need to happen. This really didn't need to happen, right? If he dropped to his knee just from holding Jimmy, that's one thing, but no, the fact that it was a really stupid spot, and then he got injured, that really set me off.
I think they could have done the same spot. They just could have went about it different. Maybe if he didn't jump in, because when Cena did the spot, he did it with Big Show and Edge.
I know, yeah.
And instead of Edge jumping on top, Cena just like kind of picked him up.
Yeah. If it had been like Jimmy runs into him and then Rick like kind of positioned it to lift him up, then do it. That's one thing. But no, Rick was just standing there and Jay went out of his way to run to the side and then hop on top full force, and that's what caused Boogs to kind of buckle.
Yeah, I don't know if they were trying to do the Cena spot or if they're that spot that the Viking Raiders do every once in a while where they has one guy on top and he has the other guy like in the world's strongest slam position. Maybe that was what they were trying to do.
Well,
and Rick Boogs just didn't move around to catch him.
Yeah, Boogs' whole thing is that like he has them in that fireman's, or was it overhead or fireman's?
No, it was a fireman's carry.
He has them horizontally, right? But then he ends up flipping them 90 degrees into a power slamming motion. So
what if he was supposed to like military press both of them above his head?
I mean, that would have been cool.
That would have been really cool, and this would have been the time to do it. Maybe that was the spot.
Whatever the result was, the way they went about it made no sense.
Maybe that's why he jumped.
Maybe, but
the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, okay.
But again, I'm not going to bother rating this match because this match was just a botch.
Yeah, I think.
But luckily, it only.
I think
he tore
something in his quad.
He tore. I think it was 4 ligaments in his quad, and he's going to need surgery. They said.
Yeah, he's going to get surgery in the next couple of days.
Yeah, they showed him being carried out, and Shinsuke was with him.
On the bright side,
match was only 8 minutes, so I don't really.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a waste of my time.
On the bright side, who knows? Maybe 6 months from now, we'll look at this as, oh, thank God the Usos didn't lose the titles, because who knows? Maybe they'll have their little brother up on the main roster with the IC title, and they'll have all the gold again. You know, who knows?
Before I forget to mention this, though, because now that I'm thinking about it, the what did you call it? The set piece for this WrestleMania, the big star.
Oh, I thought it looked awesome.
It's not just a big star; it's a big 3D angled star that has like a big line going through that where they put all their names. Just the entire stage for the show looks great.
Yeah,
just wanted to say that because they were getting carried off to the side to it, and I thought of it. But
so I'm trying to compare it to the last time WrestleMania was in Dallas, and instead of having the star like a vertical star, basically the entire stage was the star.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, and then like the point of the star was the ramp.
Yeah.
Looks pretty cool. It was WrestleMania 32 was the last time that they were in Dallas.
Yeah.
That was not a very good WrestleMania. One of the worst main events I've ever seen in my life.
I don't usually notice the set pieces for pay-per-view, so I just wanted to say it looked phenomenal.
Well, I don't know if that's a thing that WWE is going to start doing again.
Set pieces?
Yeah, because I mean, me growing up watching pay-per-views, all of them had different set pieces.
Yeah.
That way it distinguished the different shows.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it was really cool.
TLC's got the tables everywhere. Extreme Rules has the thing floating above. Same with Holland.
WrestleMania last year, I didn't really like the set piece because it was just one big giant TV right behind it.
But like I told you, right?
But that was like a last minute.
That was like a last minute. Oh shit, COVID's gone. I guess that we can kind of do it, right? And then oh shit, it's raining. Like it was a whole clusterfuck, right? It wasn't really the best planned out.
But anyways,
yeah, that's why.
First match on the card. I feel bad for Rick Boogs. Hopefully he gets soon.
I love Rick Boogs. I think he's great.
I don't know if I like Rick Boogs as much as you do. I think he's okay.
You're making it sound like I'm a fanboy. I'm not. I like Rick Boogs on the same level that I like Mad Cat Moss, where it's like, yeah, I like them, and that's about as far as it goes. I can see them going far as long as they continue to develop their characters, but I'm not a huge fan or anything. I like them.
I think he's trying to do the whole strength gimmick way too.
He needs to he needs to focus more on his music gimmick, I think.
Well, so if he focuses too much on his music gimmick, then he's going to be compared to Elias, and I don't think that's what they want.
He wouldn't be compared. Elias was a fucking slow, methodical,
true,
backwoods acoustic guitar player. Roogs is a loud, obnoxious, childish, electric guitar player. Freddie Mercury. They're nothing alike.
I think they should, when he comes back, they should bring back his denim gimmick, where he only wears like the denim singlets,
denim knee pads.
Yeah. I liked that. I think when he does the whole...
I liked his ponytail, too.
Yeah. I just feel like him being in a tag team with Nakamura is just kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm not saying...
Because Nakamura is one of the best wrestlers on the planet.
He doesn't have to be in a tag team to do the music thing, right?
I'm worried that once they break them up, he's going to be skyrocketed to the main event before he's ready. Not that Eric Bogman's not a good wrestler, because we haven't seen that much. I think... they're really pushing the whole gimmick thing with him instead of learning technical wrestling.
I don't think that strength needs to be the focus of his character right now. He needs to...
So look at what they're doing with Braun Breaker right now. I think Braun Breaker's ready to main event WrestleMania next year.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's pretty much on the right track right now. Me
and Ben are both in agreement that I think so, right?
You want to talk a little bit about NXT before we move on to the next match?
No. I don't. But we're both in agreement that he throws the best spear, right?
Oh yeah.
Hands down, he throws the best spear in the entire industry. He can definitely main event next year.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that beats Roman if Cody doesn't beat him first.
It's either Walter, Cody, Rock, or Braun. Those are the only 4 that I see.
But I think comparing Braun Breaker and Rick Boogs is a pretty apt comparison. No. One is no, because they both do like the strength military press things, but obviously we're all supposed to know that Braun Breaker is very strong. Like that's just implied by looking at him and watching him work. If they just kind of focus on the technical wrestling of Rick Boogs, I think
it's like John Cena is one of the strongest performers to ever compete in WWE, but like he doesn't make strength his thing every match. You see it every once in a while when, oh shit, he just lifted up Big Show like it was nothing, right? But like you don't need to see him do that every time. You know by looking at him, the dude's pecs are bigger than my head, right? He's a pretty strong dude.
Yeah, I just feel like a year from now, whenever he's a singles star in the mid card, the whole thing's just gonna wear off and then he's gonna fizzle out. He's a very charismatic guy. Who knows? He might figure something else out.
Yeah, WWE wants athletes and characters over actual wrestling talent, right? And he has both of those. So I think that
I 100% believe that he's a good wrestler and he can work. But I just want him to change up his style in the ring a little bit.
He is. He's not doing that right now. But he has those too. So he'll stay around and he'll be able to show that more eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Rick Boogs. However, I love the person in our next match, Baron Corbin. I've always been a huge Baron Corbin fan. Or I'm sorry, now he's Happy Corbin.
Yeah, monumental shit happens in this match.
Literally monumental. I don't think it's ever happened, right?
It has never happened before. But before we talk about that moment, out of all of the video packages this evening, I thought this one was the best.
I thought
they go through the whole story of bum ass Baron Corbin, and it's freaking hilarious.
Bum ass.
They show like backstage segments that you don't get to see. Like he's walking into Raw, and one of the producers that you see on TV every once in a while is like, "What are you doing here? You don't work here." He's like, "I'm on the trailer." It's so funny.
He points back to the trailer. That's me, and the guy's like, "That's not you."
That's not you.
Yeah, I love Baron Corbin.
Didn't necessarily get me really excited to see the match, but it was very funny and very entertaining. I thought it was really well put together.
The actual match itself is okay.
It's a good match. Yeah,
it's pretty good. The match itself is overshadowed by the finish because, like you said, it's monumental.
So Baron Corbin has gone on record saying that he would rather have nobody ever kick out of the End of Days than win the WWE Championship. He must really like Drew McIntyre because Drew McIntyre kicked out of his finisher in this match.
That he did.
And that blew my mind. And we said it like right before it happened. I'm like, oh, what if he kicks out of the End of Days? And you're like, oh, that'd be something, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah. And then, sure enough.
And I made the point to you where I was like, well, I mean, Baron did mock his dead mother last night, so he might owe him one, right?
Who knows? But I feel like
Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin are pretty much through at this point. I mean, Moss was really annoying Baron on this match. There was a point where Baron was in complete control for 5 minutes, and Moss hops up on the ring and he goes, "Yeah, good job." And Baron turns around and he's like, "Hey man, what the fuck are you doing? Get off the ring!" And then immediately McIntyre starts beating him up again. After that, Baron's not laughing. He's not laughing at any of his jokes. I feel like we're gonna start to see now that he's done with Drew. We're gonna see a Moss versus.
I might
Corbin
be in the minority here, but I really like Madcap Moss. I think he's. I think he's really good in the ring.
I literally just said that I love Moss. Yeah, he's great. But I feel like, mark my words, after Mania, that is going to be Corbin's next feud is with Moss. They're going to split.
That's what makes the most sense.
And then Drew's going to.
Unless they run it back with Drew, but they've been teasing this since day one, so I highly doubt.
Again, like I said, Corbin's not laughing at any of his jokes anymore, to the point where he has to tell his own. And the whole reason why he hired him was to make him laugh. He's not doing that, and now he's getting in the way of his matches. All right, get out of here. Yeah.
I like Happy Corbin. I just really miss the Lone Wolf version of Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
I think that's the best gimmick that WWE's come up with in a long time, aside from like, the Fiend and that kind of stuff. I just think he's such a badass.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they screwed that up. Because when you think of like the lineage of the character of Baron Corbin, he was this badass lone wolf ass kicker in NXT. Then he came to the main roster and did that for a little while. Won the Money in the Bank as that character. But because he was in the NFL, he has this thing with concussions. He doesn't like when people oversimplify concussions. That's actually why he failed to cash in the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
He was supposed to cash in the Money in the Bank on who was it? AJ Styles or one of those guys? And then Cena ended up beating the shit out of him, and they had a match at SummerSlam. Then from there, he gets moved to Raw, turns into, like, waiter at a restaurant Baron Corbin with that stupid get-up. Then King Corbin. I thought King Corbin was terrible.
Yeah.
Just utter garbage all the time. And then he does the whole bum-ass Baron Corbin. I thought that was the best character he ever did.
Walking around with the same mustard shirt on his
I think that might have been my favorite point of his entire career. Bum-ass Baron Corbin. Happy Corbin's funny, too.
Yeah, he's funny. But, yeah, this was a good match for him, I thought. I did have some issues with it, though, which I wrote down. First off, I feel like the match could have been a little bit longer, first off. But
I feel like this match needed a stipulation.
Yeah.
What stipulation do you think? They didn't have... I feel like a cage match actually would have been pretty good with this. Because...
Some level of extremity, whether it be a table match, whether it be a steel cage match, whether it be no holds barred, I feel like it did need something extra.
No, so here's why I say cage match. Because cage match is the feud ender. They've been feuding since literally the first day of the year.
Yeah.
It keeps Madcap Moss out of the ring so he can't be involved. And you can have the whole chicken shit heel thing where Baron Corbin tries to run away from Drew, but Drew just... It would have fit here.
Yeah.
And there's no other... Like, there really aren't any stipulation matches.
Tonight?
At all. There
was one at the end.
So there's the no holds barred match with Austin. And then tomorrow there's the anything goes match with Johnny Knoxville.
Which I don't know what that means, but
no holds barred basically. So I think if you would have put a stipulation here, there aren't even any ladder matches on WrestleMania.
No.
And that's like a staple. So if they would have put,
we still don't know what Finn Balor's doing.
We still don't know. He might be on the card. He might not.
We might see Mustafa Ali in a ladder match. I have no idea. I really hate the idea of them not using their mid card titles at all.
I was fine if they didn't want to put Ricochet on the show. I was fine with that because he had a really good match last night with Los Lotharios.
But Finn has done nothing.
Yeah,
and you even made the point. No, man, no. He's fighting Damian Priest.
I thought for sure he was.
And I looked at you. I said, no, he's not. You think that they give a shit about Finn Balor or Damian Priest? My other problem was Drew McIntyre didn't really sell the End of Days that well. Drew McIntyre took the End of Days, kicked out of it. Baron was freaking out for about 20 seconds, and then Drew immediately got up and claymored him. It wasn't that he got up and claymored him that was no selling. It was that after he won the match, he didn't really look phased at all from the End of Days. He was just confident as ever. And I thought to myself, the End of Days has never been kicked out of before until now. Like you should look really stunned from that, and he kind of shook it off like any other finisher to me, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. Personally.
I don't know. Maybe both guys were just tired of being around each other. Out of every single match on the card tonight, this was the one that I was least interested in.
Yeah, this was worse than the first match, I thought.
What, build wise, or
no? Like I said, I'm not counting the first match, but this was the worst match of the night, I thought.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if you're judging it strictly on like a out of 10 score, I'd give it a solid like 10 or not 10.
I was gonna
a solid 7.
I gave it a 6 I gave it a 6 in my notes. Yeah. Also, Drew McIntyre's been swinging around a real sword this whole time.
Yeah. So after the match, he literally cut the ropes.
I don't know how I feel about that. Again, like I said, wrestler safety is a big thing for me. Thinking back to all those moments where he swung them right at people's faces, I don't know how I feel about that. All that it takes is one loosened grip and it goes flying, and oh shit, a wrestler died on TV. It would not have been hard. I don't know. Maybe it was a fake sword back then, and now it's just a real sword now. I hope so. I don't.
Well, when he swung the sword, I thought that the ropes were gimmicked, but then I was like, no, you can see the fraying on the ropes,
yeah.
And if the ropes were gimmicked, they wouldn't be bouncing off of them.
I did notice, though, I watched a few clips. Whenever Drew does swing his sword, he always turns it so the flat side is facing.
Who knows?
So maybe it
was a real sword.
That's what I'm saying. I have no idea, but holy shit, he chopped the ropes in half.
Well, that makes blading a whole new level of blading.
It gives a whole new meaning to blading. Yeah, 7 out of 10 from you, 6 out of 10 from me. It was just an okay match that had a few questionable spots.
I would say after this match, that's when WrestleMania really kicked into high gear and got going.
Yeah. So I have a lot of detailed notes for all but two of these matches. One of them I have a good reason for, but this one I don't, right? The only note that I wrote down for this next match, I only wrote down one note, and it's because I only need one note to summarize this match. And that note is hire Logan Paul.
Yes.
That's the only note that I wrote down for this match, because that's all that needs to be said. Logan Paul is a natural-born WWE superstar. He's already got the fan base. He's a natural athlete. He's naturally charismatic. He's a good-looking dude. He's a character. He's a natural-born heel. And as I said to you, right, there's that playfulness to that heel work where you can tell that he's loving the fans.
He can literally say nothing and draw heat with facial expressions.
He just walks out, smiles, does the "Hey guys, what's up?" and they fucking boo him, and he loves it.
That point in the match. So we're gonna go back and talk about the match after this, but there was a point in this match where Rey Mysterio tries to hit the Three Amigos, which is Eddie Guerrero's signature move, and he tries to hit it on the Miz, but the Miz breaks it up. And then Logan Paul comes in, looks directly into the camera, and gives the biggest smart ass of a grin that I've ever seen to a chorus of boos. Then he proceeds to hook Rey Mysterio into suplex position. Gives him a suplex, more boos. Gives him another suplex, more boos. Give him another suplex, more boos. And stands up, looks at the crowd, looks at the camera, gets even more boos, goes on top of the turnbuckle and hits a frog splash after doing the Eddie Guerrero thing.
Yeah, goes up there, does the Eddie Guerrero all while fucking smirking, hits the splash, and then hooks him in the most confident, abrupt way humanly possible. Before we...
Let's talk about Dominic, because I think that's worth it.
Before we lose ourselves, the Dominic Rey Mysterio entrance was badass.
Yeah, it was really badass.
Really bad. Dominic had a lot of energy. Usually when Dominic comes out, he's kind of like, "Hey guys, what's up?" Whatever. No, he was fucking...
This is the best match.
He was sprinting everywhere with Ray. He was so excited to be competing. Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, WrestleMania," sprinting to each end, sprinting to the other end.
This was the best match of Dominic's career so far.
Dominic brought out so many moves that I've never seen him do before. He was doing all sorts of corkscrew fucking spinning DDTs off to the outside of the ropes. Right, I'm not usually one for spots, but I think it's just that I've never seen Dominic do this stuff, so it surprised me. Right, he was doing a lot of moves that I've never seen him do. He was very excited for WrestleMania.
Would you say you've changed your mind about Dominic Mysterio? You like him a lot now, or
I never disliked him. My only concern was that Dominic doesn't have a character. He needs to be separated.
Other than the fact that he's Rey Mysterio's son.
Yeah, he needs a character. He needs to be himself. And I thought that he needed to be on NXT to develop.
I think the only thing that Dominic Mysterio needs to do going forward is lean out, put on a little bit of muscle.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to be shredded or anything, but
no,
he shouldn't be like he looks like a kid still.
Yeah.
Maybe grow out a little bit of facial hair, and for God's sakes, either give him someone to talk for him, or learn how to cut a promo.
That's what I'm talking about. He has no...
Other than that, he's great.
You can't cut a promo if you don't have a character. What are you going to say? "I hate you. I'm going to fight you." Oh, wait a minute. I just summarized all of the Ronda Charlotte promos, but that's for later. Yeah. Back to Dominic. Yeah, he did great. Ray did great. Miz did great, but...
Logan Paul's a standout.
First off, his ring gear... I don't know who made it for him, but fucking give that dude a raise, because Logan looked like $1 million. I want to say that it was Logan's idea, but if it wasn't, whoever came up with the idea of saying, "Hey, you got pretty famous for unboxing Pokemon cards. What if we encase the most expensive Pokemon card in existence in a fucking diamond gold see-through box and you wear it?" Brilliant. Fucking brilliant. Like,
honestly, I've never seen someone come out to a chorus of boos this bad since like Ciampa without the music.
Yeah.
Like, it's very impressive. And I hate to say, like, oh, I knew he was going to be this good, because I didn't know he was going to be this good.
I knew that he was...
But I expected that he would... Yeah, the dude's a total heat magnet.
If you go on WWE's YouTube channel, there's a video of him training for WrestleMania, and it's cutting in interviews between the trainers and the Miz, and the trainers are all saying, "Yeah, like, I've never had somebody ever pick up on stuff this fast before." And the Miz says, like, after training Logan for just like a month straight, I can already tell that, like, he is a natural born superstar, and he really likes this. I don't know if he's going to want to give it up after just Mania, right? He could totally be a full-time star.
I think if I'm going way out on this one.
Okay.
But if he decides to stick around, and I'm not saying put the world title on him yet, but if he decides to stick around and be a full-time wrestler, and he's got guys to work with like Rey Mysterio, The Miz, Cody Rhodes now, guys to really develop him, there will be no place for MJF in this company. Because he will cut promo. I tell you, he doesn't even need to cut a promo to get boos.
No. People just hate him because he's Logan Paul.
Yeah, he is so big that if they decide, obviously he's not going to be the one that beats Roman. But if he beats the guy that beats Roman in the cheekiest douchebag way possible, holy shit.
Yeah.
You want to talk about biggest heels in wrestling? MJF's up there. I actually hate Logan Paul more. And that's like a wrestling heel level hate.
Yeah. He was just so good. Like MJF is
I was fully convinced that MJF was obviously we'll have to talk about this in 2024, but I was fully convinced, he's not re-signing with AEW. Like Cody came back and he's obviously being presented in a very good way as AEW Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
MJF is coming to WWE because that's his goal. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll script him in WWE either. But if they have Logan Paul full-time on the main roster as the biggest heel in the entire industry, forget about it. He's MJF won't make the money that he wants in WWE.
And Logan Paul's strengths in this match don't even just lie in the fact that he's obviously a hateable and he's a good heel.
Kid has ring psychology.
I was just about to say, hear me out on this, right? Whether it's intentional or not, his ring psychology reminds me of Walter's in the sense that
everything he did looked so brutal.
The reason why a lot of Walter's moves look as brutal as they are is because they're
intentionally sloppy.
They're very they're sloppy, not that they're bad looking, but they're sloppy in the way that a real fight would look sloppy. Because in a real fight, right? You're frantically trying to fucking hit the dude. You're trying to grapple him, throw him to the ground. When Walter powerbombs a guy, he doesn't hold him in the air for 10 seconds. He as soon as he gets them up, he immediately thrusts them down on the ground. All of his moves have that quick intensity of I'm trying to beat you. And Logan had that, except that he's faster. All of his moves had a sense of I'm trying to beat you, I'm trying to hit you. And they all looked very believable, right?
Yeah.
Which plays into hooking the leg. Why would you not hook the leg as fast as you can every time? He does it every time.
Every single time he hooked the leg, he looked like a piece of shit.
He looked
every single time.
Every time he was like, I won. Just gonna hook this, And
I know you notice a lot of guys. So that reminded me a lot of when HBK used to hit Sweet Chin Music and then roll on the back and hook the leg.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like, oh, I'm cocky, I'm the showstopper, I'm the heartbreak kid. You all supposed to hate me. Logan Paul did it better than he did.
I'm telling you, WWE, it would be, assuming that Logan wants to join, WWE would be dumb not to hire Logan Paul.
Yeah.
He would generate, number one.
And I'm pretty sure he wants to wrestle more.
He would generate this company so much fucking revenue. It's insane.
Now, did The Miz turn babyface on Logan Paul at the end of the
match?
I don't think did he turn heel on Logan Paul?
I think he turned heel. It was not it was the fact that he was living it up, going yeah, I won. This is my moment. And the Miz said, "Fuck you, new timer."
I was like, "Fuck you." I was the one that won the match.
Exactly. I'm the one that brought you here and trained you. How about you show some humility? Maybe thank me. But no, that's how I took it.
I think he turned babyface.
I thought it was funny too.
There is no way in hell anybody will cheer for Logan Paul over the Miz.
I thought it was funny because I think that Logan was so caught up in the excitement of having just put on a great match that when the Miz went to put him in the skull crushing finale,
he was smiling on the way down.
He was still smiling because he was just so caught up in the moment, right? Yeah, he smiled on the way down, but whatever. And on the topic, Logan Paul throws a better skull crushing finale than the Miz.
And Logan Paul can sell better than half the people on the entire roster of AEW and NXT.
When the Miz does the skull crushing finale, it's just a face bump. But when Logan does it, he kind of tilts your head forward and drives you in head first, right? A little more dangerous, but assuming that he's doing it right, it looks better. But we're talking a lot of praise on Logan, but everybody was great. Dominic was the best that he's ever looked. Ray's always great. Miz is always great. Yeah. Match was awesome. Fucking 10 out of 10 stars. Or 10 out of 10, my bad, yeah.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Nothing was wrong with the match. It was fucking perfect. I can't think of anything wrong.
The only thing that I think would have been better is if as if they did a little storytelling after the match where Ray and Dominic kind of get into it, and Ray like slaps him.
I mean, we
to tell the next story, because everybody's expecting them to go in that direction. Like, you lost to Logan Paul and the fucking Miz. Yeah. You know what I mean? At WrestleMania, you were a bona fide Hall of Famer. Your son's obviously the problem, even though Rey Mysterio is the one that got pinned. So I think that's going to be the story going forward. I'm excited to see where they go with both angles.
Yeah, they're obviously setting up for a Logan Paul and Miz feud. I don't know what it is with the Miz, but the Miz always has a tag team celebrity match at Mania for the most part, or a lot of times, and they're always like standout matches. They're always great.
He's had two.
Bad Bunny was. I think that he was the best match of last year's Mania Night 1. I liked it more than Sasha.
No,
I know that's a personal take.
Cesaro and Rollins was the best match.
All that I remember was the UFO from that match. Honestly,
it was a great match.
I know it was a great match. I liked Bad Bunny's more.
No, fair enough. Okay.
The Miz always does a thing where, like, when Bad Bunny hit the Canadian a destroyer in last year's match, he does like the mouth wide open. Turns to the crowd like, what? He did that? He did that in this match with Logan when Logan did like the fucking... Dominic went to like do a Hurricanrana, I think, right? I'm remembering. And then Logan shifted into a fucking like running power slam or whatever. Miz did the whole, holy shit, he did that. I trained that guy. He did that whole thing. Miz is great. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Would you give it that too?
Yeah, 100%. I think every single match left on the card is 10 out of 10.
And then
including the Charlotte match.
After this match, was this the Hall of Fame? After this match?
After this match was the Raw Women's Championship match.
And then after was the Hall of Fame.
Let's talk about these entrances.
Yeah.
So, big time Becky Lynch gets a new entrance graphic. That reminded me a lot of the Marvel logo before a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
But it's all like different.
That might have been what they were going for.
Yeah.
The way that the Marvel word has like different scenes from the movies playing on the sides of the letters, they did that, but for the words "Big Time Bex" in a glasses silhouette.
I thought
and then she came to the ring in a van.
I thought for sure she was gonna get like new entrance music. I thought that would have just completed the package. This entrance fucking ruled.
Oh yeah.
My favorite entrance for women's wrestling was always like the Sasha Banks getting out of the Escalade. And now they've done it with Becky Lynch, and it's kind of better because Becky's look, her new look, she just like, you said David Bowie. I said she looks like
she looked like a mix between she looks
like Hayley Williams from Paramore.
She was wearing Lady Gaga looking close to me, but I say David Bowie because she had like pink diamond paint around her eyes, and her hair was very frizzy the way that David Bowie's would always be.
Her hair reminded me so much of Hayley Williams from the band Paramore when she used to have red hair.
Okay.
I think this is the best Becky Lynch since her return.
The best,
by far.
The best
the best looking, the best match. Her psychology was great. I've gone on record before saying I think Becky Lynch is very limited in the ring.
Yeah.
And she did a very good job at working with someone who is clearly more talented with her, but hiding all of her weaknesses and making herself look like a credible champion.
Yeah.
Speaking of champion, the new champion, let's talk about her entrance.
Bianca.
That was awesome.
She got a...
It's the University of South Texas?
Southern University, Southern University of Texas, I believe. They had the marching band there to play an orchestral version of her theme. They marched in... They were on either side of the ramp,
and her ring gear was
they
awesome.
played, and she came out wearing.
It was like a drum major uniform, but but red and made out of sequins. And then she took off the drum major, and she had like a kiss.
Yeah,
top.
She had the lipstick mark for her logo as like a bra, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and if she made that, like I know she makes all of her own ring gear. I don't know if she made that or not, but.
The ring
kudos to Bianca Belair for making.
There was all sorts of little things with her uniform too. Like she had the letters EST on her ponytail, and she must have.
She had like red streaks in her hair too.
And she must have pinned those in pretty good because they didn't all come out until like near the end of the match. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this first before we get into the actual match itself. Spoilers: the match was very good, right?
Oh yeah.
From a wrestling perspective, the match is great. But during the match, I didn't really react to a lot of the things. And you turned over to me and you said, "You're not enjoying this match very much, are you?" And I said, "No, I am." And he's like, "Well, then why are you sitting there like that?" And I said, "Because there's no investment, right?" To me, this match was Star Wars 3 Anakin versus Obi-Wan, right? Yeah, the fight's cool to watch, but like it's just a lot of fighting, right? The actual story going into it, the character work going into it, there's not much build to it. So at the end of the day, I'm just watching the two lightsabers fight. I'm watching them do cool stuff to each other, and that is cool and it's very good. But the build to this match was atrocious. Becky as a heel for the last year has been completely unwatchable. All right? Bianca hasn't really done a whole lot until the last 2 months, right? So going into the match, there wasn't a story. So
let's debate this real quick.
So I wasn't very reactionary to the match, right? The match is still a 9 out of 10 for me. Match is phenomenal, but that's the reason why I wasn't very excited during most of it.
Let's debate this real quick.
Yeah.
I fully 100% believe that they booked this match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like they had this in mind. We're gonna run this match back at WrestleMania at SummerSlam. I fully believe that they intended on doing this. Is long-term booking, as JD would say.
Yeah.
All right. I fully believe that. I just think that Becky dropped the ball with turning heel. I've told you this earlier today when we were eating dinner. I think Becky Lynch wanted to be a heel like Roman Reigns is a heel to like kind of get herself over more, but instead of taking that extra step and actually turning heel to get the people to boo her, she just was cringe the entire time.
Yeah.
All of her matches as champion have been good. The promos have been unbearable. She's been super cringe and very, very unlikable.
Yeah.
So going back to SummerSlam, I'm not pissed about her burying Bianca Belair anymore. I'm pissed that they advertised Sasha Banks and then brought Carmella out and then Becky Lynch came out. That's what I'm pissed about for that now. If we look back on this match, I would say this is the greatest women's championship match ever at WrestleMania. I think it's better than the one last year between Bianca and Sasha Banks. And I think it's better than Asuka versus Charlotte Flair, which I think was like the benchmark up until that point.
Yeah, this to me was the first Becky Lynch title defense since returning that actually convinced me that like Becky.
Well, her match with Liv Morgan was great.
That actually convinced me that Becky Lynch is a tough opponent as a female wrestler, and you have to give it your all to beat her, right? Because the match against Liv Morgan was good, it was fine, but I never got the sense of like it's taking. Yeah. I never got the sense that she was like a real champion. I always knew that like obviously Liv wasn't gonna fucking win, right?
Maybe we should talk about this a little bit too. I think so. Becky came in with the idea of turning heel.
Yeah. Maybe
the only reason that they kept her heel this entire time is because they were going to do Bianca versus Becky, and they didn't want it to be babyface. They already did the 26 seconds thing. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
So maybe time will tell. If she turns babyface within the next month of not being champion, then we'll know for a fact they wanted to turn her babyface, but they couldn't because of Bianca.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that this was planned or not, right? I
think it was.
Personally, I don't believe that it was. I don't have any proof for that, but I'm not going to try to because it's just my belief, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, though, because whether or not they planned this match or not, the match itself was still good. Whether or not they planned it or not, the build-up to it still was trash.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the match was good.
Let's talk about some spots.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 though, because like I said, there's no build to it. So I was not reacting to anything.
Okay, let's talk about some spots in the match. Match started off very fast, very aggressive.
The entire
they tried to run back the whole SummerSlam handshake thing, and you said, "Oh shit, they're gonna bury her again."
I said it jokingly, and then immediately
she hits her with a manhandle slam.
And I jumped out of my seat.
And he jumped out of his seat. I'm like, "Oh, they got him!" And then Bianca kicked out at the last second. You could see visibly every single person in the audience was so fucking mad.
Oh yeah.
And then really happy at the same time. And that's when I turned to you and I'm like, "Of course they did this. This was the plan all along. They were gonna run it back and do it." That's when it clicked for me. I'm like, they planned this in SummerSlam.
Again, I'm not gonna just personal belief. I mean, it wouldn't have been that hard to go on Twitter and see. Oh, hey, look, fans are mad that we buried Bianca. Maybe we can make fun of that in the Mania in like 4 months. It wouldn't have, like, you don't need long-term booking for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think Bianca Belair looked more like a superstar in this match than she did with Sasha?
I will say in her match against Sasha, I did. In this match, I felt like each opponent hated each other, and they
were trying to beat the shit
They
out
were
of each other.
trying to kill the other opponent, and when Bianca won, I felt like it was a hard fought battle. Right, it was a hard battle against Sasha, but in this match, you felt like she climbed a mountain, whereas in the Sasha match, you felt like she climbed a hill. Right.
I appreciate the lack of using Bianca's. Obviously, they used Bianca's hair in this match for some points of the match. I appreciate that Becky had other ideas of how to use her hair.
Yeah.
There was no hair whip in this match. I really appreciated that.
I don't like the hair whip.
I don't like the hair whip. I don't agree with people that say that, if Bianca doesn't have her hair, then she doesn't have a character. I think Bianca's great. I think no matter what her hair looks like, she's still, her character doesn't change. Her appearance changes.
Well, her marketing does. Her whole logo and identity would go.
I don't know. I don't think she doesn't need to have that.
Her entrance
anymore.
music starts with a whip crack and a hair animation.
Yeah, they just get rid of the whip crack. Too easy.
Whatever. But yeah, I would say that in the Sasha match, you felt like she fought hard. In this match, you felt like she left everything in the ring, and the final KOD that she delivered, that was the best.
That
KOD.
was amazing.
She jumped with it as if to say this is my last burst of energy, giving this everything that I got. Yeah.
So let's talk about a specific point in the match where Becky Lynch goes up to the top rope and does a flip and delivers what I think was supposed to be like a sit out.
Oh,
type. So you know that spot where Rey Mysterio jumps off the top rope and kind of sits on your chest and right. I think that's what it was supposed to be, but she ended up delivering an axe kick and kicked Bianca right in the face.
A fucking spinning, rolling axe kick. The back end of her heel boot fucking hit the bottom of her left eye socket.
I think it was very clear that Bianca was concussed. She was out of it for at least
at bare minimum. She has a black eye. It would be hard to imagine. I don't think you understand. In UFC and fighting in general, an axe kick is so fucking dangerous because you're using the elasticity of you raising your leg and having your muscles contract and you're fucking swinging your hard heel on them. And it hit her in the eye. And when I saw that, I said, "Holy shit!" And you saw her get up and she's wobbly and her left eye is all deformed and swollen and I was like, holy shit, right? And she powered through it and wrestled for another 5 minutes. Flawless.
Oh, it was longer than 5 minutes.
She wrestled, apart from being a little dizzy after recovering, she wrestled flawlessly.
Yeah.
For the remainder.
She looked like an absolute boss, dude.
Yeah, which again plays into you felt like she overcame a mountain to win this match.
Yeah.
And
if it comes out that she was also concussed, that's just gonna make me like her even more.
And at the end of the match, you saw her left eye was swollen really bad.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. It was a really bad kick. But BC, that's a botch where it's that's just stuff that happens.
Yeah, it's nobody's fault. Yeah.
Whereas the fucking Boogs match that didn't need to happen, this just happened. So I don't count that against the match.
There was a spot where Bianca got Becky Lynch in the disarmer, and I thought for a split second that Becky was gonna tap out. I think that would have been a very interesting spot.
That was very early
to
on,
change
though.
the match.
That was very early on.
Yeah. I don't know. Overall, I really hope they turn Becky babyface and maybe send her over to Raw or send her over to SmackDown, because obviously she's not going to be anywhere other than the title picture, because WWE doesn't really believe in booking personal feuds between women for some reason. I don't know why. But I don't want to boo Becky Lynch anymore. And I don't think the fans want to either. So either they run it back again at Backlash, and this time they actually turn Becky heel and have her cut Bianca's hair.
You say that, I don't think that Bianca's going to be cleared to wrestle at Backlash, dude.
I don't know, maybe not.
This kick looked brutal, and again, it was to the fucking eye.
They better not strip her of the title.
I cannot stress that enough. She got axe kicked right in the eye socket. Holy shit. Yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. I'm assuming 10 out of 10 for you. Because again, like I said, perfect match.
Yeah, I think it was
no investment. Match. None, storyline-wise, and that's a very important part. And then, so after this was the Hall of Fame.
No, Hall of Fame was after the next match.
Next match, all right. Seth Rollins. We'll get to what you want to talk about in a bit, but let's talk about it step by step so we don't forget anything, because we're going to lose ourselves when we talk
Promo
about
package
this.
was awesome.
Promo was very awesome. I loved the angle that they went through of Seth Rollins made WrestleMania feel important, right? WrestleMania is the Super Bowl of wrestling. It is the time of year where we all as fans come together to just celebrate wrestling, right? We all come together to love the sport. And this angle that they went for of Seth Rollins is not going to be at WrestleMania, right? He feels like a failure as a wrestler. I'm not going to be able to compete at the biggest show of the year and perform for the audience. And he fucking lost his mind, right? He's beaten up everything. I won a match, right? He got like 4 chances and he lost them all. Feels like a complete loser for not being able to get his match. It was awesome. They made him look. That made WrestleMania feel like a big deal. That Seth slipped into such a crazed state of mind over not being able to compete.
Especially having Kevin Owens go on.
Yeah.
So in the promo package, they literally showed everybody that was having a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They showed the Johnny Knoxville thing. They showed the Steve Austin thing.
Yeah, that's right. They
literally showed everybody.
There was a very nice visual.
They showed Logan Paul. Yeah.
There was a very nice visual where they green screened out the background of Seth Rollins. It was him walking through a sea of other promos of other people going to Mania, and he's forced to walk through it and see all these other people go on, and he's not able to be there. Very haunting, right?
Yeah.
And then they immediately cut to him talking to Vince, and you get to see classic Joker Seth, and it's awesome.
Now let's talk about some of the opponents that were rumored.
Hold on. We'll get to that, right? Because again, we're going this in order. He had a choir singing his theme. Thoughts?
I think they should have saved the choir for tomorrow night.
Well, they can still use a choir, but it needs to be a kid's choir.
It needs to be a kid's choir. We both agree that when Roman comes out, it should be a choir of nothing but children that like basically bow before him when he comes out. But
yeah, it should be a kid's choir doing the and then when the harpsichord plays, Roman needs to turn around and all the kids need to immediately fucking drop to a knee and like bow to him like he's their tribal chief, right? That's what needs to happen. But they had a choir singing the whoa, whoa for a good 30 seconds. Then he comes out. I'm so used to Seth wearing red, I was taken aback by the blue color change, but I like it. He was wearing all blue, even his logo.
His pants were see-through.
His pants were kind of see-through and bedazzled. He's wearing the blue Cruella de Vil fur coat, blue shirt. His logo's blue. The flames were red, but whatever, right? They're fire, right?
Yeah.
But everything was blue. I liked it, and the choir was all wearing blue too. I wonder if he's moving to SmackDown with all the color changes or something.
Probably not. Everything was blue tonight because they were in Dallas.
That's true, yeah. But yeah, Seth was loving it, right? Presentation was awesome, and then he stands in the ring for like a ball-bustingly long amount of time, right? They wanted to play with the audience so bad.
So I've heard everything from Shane McMahon, Bray Wyatt, The Undertaker,
Elias,
Veer Mahan, pretty much every name you can think of, including Cody Rhodes, who obviously it was Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
We were both kind of on the edge of our seat, and then we decided to both stand up.
No. I both of us were sitting down waiting for who it was going to be, and I told you, listen, I don't care who it's going to be. Either A, it's going to be Shane McMahon, and I'll be happy, or B, it will not be Shane McMahon. The fans will lose their mind, and I will laugh. Right?
Yeah.
It was obviously Cody, but it wasn't the fact that it was Cody that made us jump out of our seats. It was that it was
AEW.
It was Cody. They changed nothing about him, which is exactly what they needed to do.
They did insane pyro. All the lights went out. More pyro all the way up the ramp.
WWE has a very bad reputation among outside wrestlers right now, which is don't go to there. They're gonna ruin your character. They're gonna make you do stupid gimmicks. They're horrible. They change it, and they will change everything about you. That's the mindset. So what WWE needed to do was Cody Rhodes founded WWE's prime competitions. So what they needed to do was change nothing about him. In order to give off the mindset of like, look, we're not just going to ruin your whole character. We kept everything about him, and that's exactly what they did. They kept everything about Cody so much down to the T that they even had him rise up through smoke, like how he would. They even kept. I told you this.
The wrestling has more than one. I
told you there's no way that they're going to have him say wrestling is more than one family.
They kept it,
and they fucking kept it. Everything was identical, literally everything.
The only thing that would have made it better is if Brandy would have walked out with him, but
yeah,
I digress.
They kept everything exactly the way that it was, and it was absolutely
Brandy
perfect.
and their stupid little dog. They get scared from fireworks.
Stupid little dog.
Yeah.
He had a lot of fireworks too. That's right.
Yeah.
This was the loudest. I think this is the loudest wrestling pop that I've ever heard.
I said it. This is the greatest return in the history of wrestling. I think this is more impactful than CM Punk returning to wrestling because of what it represents. Yes, CM Punk coming back to wrestling. He's like, oh yeah, well now there's finally a place where I can go and I won't be miserable. And then when you have founder of this company that is supposed to be the promised land come back to the WWE, and he actually feels like he belongs there, not because he's been away for so long or that he belonged before. Yes, these are all true.
Yeah.
But he belongs there because he is at heart a WWE superstar. He is larger than life and he fits.
Cody Rhodes was so miserable by the time that he left WWE. I have no fucking idea what happened behind him and Tony Khan and AEW that made him so happy to be back that he kissed the ring itself. But it must have been really bad for him to miss WWE that much and be that happy to be back.
I've heard people say that it's a money-related issue. I don't think it's a money thing.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Either he wanted to be paid as the same as Moxley and Danielson and CM Punk. I figured he was already paid that much because he's the EVP of the company.
He's the EVP. He cuts arguably the best promos, and he did cut the best promos.
He was the most entertaining part of the show until he left, and then it was MJF.
He did that great promo before the ladder match with Sammy Guevara, where he was climbing the ladder, and with each step he would turn and say a line, and you and me were like, "Holy shit, he's so good!"
Yeah.
Right? He was great. I don't know why he wouldn't have been paid that much money, but yeah, whatever.
I don't think it was money. I think it was he had a creative dispute between him and Tony Khan, where Cody had a vision for AEW at the beginning, where he wanted to be an alternative to WWE.
Yeah.
And I think Tony Khan wants to be, we're competition, we're going to mention him all the time, we're going head to head, we're going to sign all of these talents that came over from WWE, and we don't need Cody Rhodes anymore because he's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan has to be fucking so mad right now. Either he's really happy for a friend, or he's kicking himself. He's like, fuck, I messed up. I really fucked up.
Tony Khan messed up big time not keeping him because, again, like I said, the mindset right now among the general community is AEW is the safe haven for the people that are quote unquote abused by WWE. Yeah. And here you have a quote unquote abuse victim of WWE who is happy to return there. And it begs the question, what the fuck did they do to him at AEW, right? That starts raising questions. Oh shit, maybe it's not the promised land. Maybe there is stuff going on behind closed doors. Maybe I would have been better if Keith Lee's thinking, maybe I would have been better if whatever, that's a topic for another day. But yeah, if I was Tony Khan right now, I would be like, oh shit, I made a big mistake, right?
Yeah. This is the equivalent to me of like Eric Bischoff showing up on Monday Night Raw and being the GM. Like it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It might even be bigger. But this match...
This match was like 40 minutes, right? It was really long.
I'm changing my top 10 favorite wrestling matches of all time. This is my favorite wrestling match this is the best match I've ever seen.
You liked it more than Ciampa versus...
Yes, this is the best match I've ever seen in my entire life.
So that bumps Ciampa and Gargano to 2 and Undertaker and Triple H to 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the best match I've ever seen in my entire life because it was professional wrestling.
I'm not going to say that just because I literally just saw it. I'd have to gestate on it, but I will.
The selling.
I will meet you in the middle and say that it probably belongs on my top 10. Yeah. I'll say that.
The selling in this match, not even just the selling, the storytelling in this match, from beginning to end, was flawless.
Mm-hmm. The prodigal son trying to prove that he deserves to be back where he belongs, and Seth Rollins pissed off that
he's like, welcome back to the big leagues, bitch.
Seth Rollins pissed off that Cody is stealing the spotlight that he worked so hard for, and they are just killing each other. This match reminded me a lot of Undertaker Triple H 28, was it? Where they're just, or 27, where they're just hitting each other with finishers over and over, because a lot of finishers were hit, and they're just barely kicking out, but they're dead from the finishers. It had that energy towards the end, not the whole time, like Undertaker and H did. But.
This was a slow burn, and by the finish, it was so worth it. Because About halfway through the match started off very slow. They were working each other's holds.
You made the point where like this is old school wrestling, and that's why
it's very old school,
and that's why the fans don't like it because there's no flippy shit.
Yeah, the fans weren't into it at the beginning, in my opinion, because what would happen is they would trade holds, they would become very evenly matched, they would go apart, and then they would kind of look at the fans, engage with the fans, and then they would do some more things. There was a spot where Seth Rollins hit a suplex and flung Cody out of the ring, and he straight up bumped that shit right on the ground.
That's right. So they did a spot where one was on the inside, one was on the outside of the ring, balancing on the apron, right? And they have each other in the suplex hold, and the guy who was on the outside of the apron, who was it? Seth.
It was Seth.
Seth was on the outside, suplexed Cody over the rope, out of the ring, and onto the concrete, and. Oh, it looked so fucking brutal.
He hit hard too.
They both hit so hard because that's a tall height. Keep in mind momentum, and now you're falling the full 10 feet or 15 feet, however far that it is down there.
Yeah.
Before I forget though, because this was at the beginning, Cody was very overwhelmed. You could see walking to the ring.
He was shaking.
He was shaking, right? Which a lot of people do when they get nervous and shit like that, right? Their face will they'll get kind of locked in place. He was very overwhelmed to be back.
I don't know how to say this without sounding like a complete nerd and piece of shit, but like the look on Cody Rhodes' face when he got into the ring and when he was walking down he just knew on his face, I made the right decision. This is where I belong. I think this is where my father's legacy is. This is where my legacy is going to be.
I don't think that Cody realized just how much that the fans loved and appreciated him until this moment. I think is what it is. Because obviously they loved him in AEW. But at the same time, right?
They turned on him in AEW.
Exactly. But
they hated him.
Coming back, watching all the videos that people make, reading all the tweets that people make, and finally hearing that fucking explosive pop, he was like, "Holy shit! I had no idea that I was this appreciated." Right? And walking out to 70,000 people, having the company that abused you saying, "Hey, we want you to keep everything about you," and then hearing all those fans cheer your name, he was probably like, "I am so loved right now, and I don't know how to respond to this."
He did not want to turn heel in AEW, and that's why he didn't. And the fans turned on him because they'd like, "Oh, you're just burying the entire talent." Maybe that's one of the reasons why he wanted to get paid like an EVP, but he didn't want to be an EVP anymore because then every time he beat someone, it looked like he buried them because he was management. He was booking the matches even though he wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he left. And when he came back to WWE and he had 70,000 people chanting his name and going absolutely batshit crazy for him, that's when he was like, I made the right decision. This is where I belong.
I would agree with that, yeah.
And, I'm not going to sit here and say that 6 years ago he didn't belong at this position on the card. 6 years ago, he was Stardust in the same building. The last WrestleMania he was at was in Dallas, WrestleMania 32.
Speaking of which, the commentators... So there was a point in the...
Oh, he did the Stardust thing?
Well, not even just that. Towards the beginning... middle part, like 2/5 of the way through, right? He did the whole thing where he did
the cartwheel.
He cartwheeled into the rope, went back, and then did the Stardust thing. But when he did it, he had a look on his face like, "Nah, fuck that." And the commentator made the quote. I might be misphrasing, but he said that was Cody tossing aside the past. That was Cody making a fresh start. That was Cody making a statement right there. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to reference that Cody was unhappy as Stardust and became a better person, and they fucking did that for him. They're like, yeah, that was stupid. This is Cody. He's tossing that shit away.
The point that I want to really talk about is Cody goes up to the top rope, and he's about to do a double hammer fist type deal.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins jumps up and drop kicks him right in the ribs.
Yes.
And from this point on, Cody can't do shit.
Well, it's not that he can't do shit.
He sells a bear hug. He tries to do a moonsault off the top rope, and he even does that weird because his ribs hurt.
Really subtle thing that even you didn't notice until I pointed it out was they did the thing.
They tried to both bridge up, and he couldn't do it.
Seth was pinning him. Cody tried to bridge up, and he couldn't do that because his stomach hurt too much. Right? He went to do it, and he fucking buckled and fell. And I was like, yo, nobody's gonna notice that. Nobody's gonna notice that it's because of the ribs for that, right? But they fucking did it anyways, and it was so cool. This match was 40 minutes of just pure wrestling.
It was storytelling.
Seth Rollins needs to pat himself on the back.
And the storytelling that they need to tell after this is Seth Rollins needs to go full in. hey, well, your dad was the one that made me the first ever NXT
It
champion.
looks like
you never won a world championship here, so fuck you.
It looks like they didn't show a lot of it, but there was a brief camera shot of Seth standing in the alley glaring at him after Cody won. It looks like they're setting up for a future feud, which makes sense. Seth did a best of 3 with Edge, right? Seth's character right now is
it's the best it's ever been.
Fuck you, man. We're not done until I say we're done. He likes to get revenge. He did it with Ray. He did it with Edge. He did it with Cesaro.
The suit, the amount of money that's about to be spent on suits for this program between these two is going to be outlandish because they both wear like $5,000 suits every week.
Yeah, Cody needs to come out first on Raw tomorrow.
He either needs to come out first or he needs to be like the main events. Like Cody Rhodes from now until he decides to retire from wrestling is a absolute anytime number 1 contender for the world title.
Yeah.
And honestly, if he wins, if he decides to just, we're going to have him face Finn Balor, first of all, that match would be amazing. Second of all, he's going to beat him. And third of all, the U.S. title will actually mean something again if he holds it.
Before I forget, they did not mention AEW at all. However, they did acknowledge Cody's journey, right? Cody's journey being
there's no way in hell they're not going to mention AEW on Raw.
Well, they just didn't mention it yet, but yeah, they made the point. I think it was during the entrance where they said Cody for the last 6 years has spent his time shaping himself into the perfect wrestler, and now he's finally here to show off what he's learned at his peak or whatever. They acknowledge the journey. Which, if you're a wrestling student, like, you need to study Cody Rhodes' journey from leaving WWE to AEW.
Oh, absolutely. So the match that this reminded me the most of was actually his match with Dustin at the first Double or Nothing, his brother.
Okay.
Now, it was a total bloodfest. People will probably say that match is better than this one. I don't think it means nearly as much as this match does. But I love how you and I both thought that he was going to end the match with a pedigree.
Yes.
Because we're like, the story. How great would that be? He teased hitting the pedigree that entire last run he had in AEW, and then he finally debuts in WWE and beats Seth Rollins with a pedigree. We all thought, no, he's teasing that he's going to be the next Triple H. No, Seth Rollins uses a pedigree as his finisher every once in a while. That's who he was. We both thought that. But the fact that he pulled out the bionic elbow, that meant so much to me.
He hit him
because the link between these two guys, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, is Dusty. Yeah. Because Dusty ran NXT.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really nice. Yeah. And then, of course, he beats him with three crossroads in a row. 3 crossroads in a row,
yeah. And that third crossroad, he fucking spiked his head.
Oh, yeah.
It looked brutal, man. He hit all his finishers. He
hit the Cody Cutter.
He pretty much he did every move in his arsenal here. He did the Cody Cutter, the crossroads, the 3 crossroads, the bionic elbow. He did everything. This match is a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, this is a perfect match. Absolute perfection.
Absolutely.
After this was the Hall of Fame.
Dolph Ziggler needs to watch out because this match was perfection.
Yeah, that's a good joke there.
Thank you.
After this was the Hall of Fame. And I actually watched the Hall of Fame last night. I know you didn't.
No.
I know when they were going through everybody, they recognized Charmel, which is Booker T's wife, if you didn't know who that was. I just got to say this. Her speech last night, like, obviously The Undertaker had the best speech, but her speech was so inspiring. The amount of people that she humbled herself to thank blew me away, and how articulate she was.
Yeah,
blew me away. She straight up cut the Queen promo as well, which I'm like, as soon as she did that, I was like, okay, Zelina, you listening? This is how a queen's supposed to act. Was awesome.
Yeah,
and the way that she thanked Booker T made me cry.
Really?
Yeah. She just basically like told him how much she loved him and everything. It was amazing. But the Undertaker's retirement speech was so moving to me because what's the best way to say this? He used it as a way to like teach the wrestlers in the back. If you use these 3 mental moves, you'll be able to do anything.
What were his mental moves?
His mental moves is perception is reality. The second one was... what was the second one?
We can come back to it.
I can't remember what the second one was. But he basically used it as a way to inspire the next generation of wrestlers. And at the end, he put his Undertaker coat and hat on and said, "Never say never." So I fully thought that Bray Wyatt was gonna jump him, like return and jump him,
and I made
to set up the retirement match, like the actual retirement match. But when he came out here, there was a lot of cheering.
It was and it's funny. I got mad too because when he was walking away, I wasn't hearing "Thank you, Taker" chants, and I got mad. I was like, "Fucking chant that shit, Dallas! Chant "Thank you, Taker," and then they started chanting, and I was like, "All right, good." Undertaker's like, I fucking love Undertaker so much. So I was pissed off that he wasn't getting that treatment, but they gave it to him. It was good.
Do you think he will return for one more match?
I don't want him to. No.
I don't really want him to unless it's with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, we'll see.
If Bray Wyatt decides to come back,
like I said, never say never. Austin put on a great match tonight. I thought didn't need to happen, but it wasn't terrible. So anything's possible.
I'm fine with Taker coming back. See, here's the thing with Taker.
Yeah,
I think after Roman pinned him at WrestleMania 34, 35, whatever one that was.
Yeah.
Like, this is the same way I felt about Kurt Angle. His shoulders should never be pinned to a mat ever again. If you notice, that's what Tony Khan is doing with Sting. The last man to ever pin Sting was Triple H, and he will never be pinned ever again. That's why every single time he's in a match there, he's the guy that gets the pinfall, or if they lose, Darby gets pinned.
Yeah. Or he jumps through 4 fucking tables and he's out.
The Undertaker should never have his shoulders pinned to a mat ever again. Kurt Angle should never have his shoulders pinned to a mat ever again.
Yeah.
Steve Austin's same way. The Rock.
So then you agree with me that he wasn't.
If he decides to come back and face the Fiend, he needs to like go out with the mandible claw.
Yeah.
That type of deal to like actually.
Yeah.
We made this comparison. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about the main event.
Yeah. But Undertaker's farewell, the Hall of Fame ceremony, very good, very nice. So I didn't take any notes on this match because I forgot to make the thumbnail in advance. So I was making the thumbnail during this match, so I missed a lot of it. But again, same situation with the Bianca and Becky match where there was like no build going into the match and the build up to it was cringe. So I didn't one care about it going into it, and two, I didn't get to watch most of it. I will take your word on.
Let me review the match. The match was good. It wasn't better than Becky and Bianca. Charlotte won.
Yeah.
Good enough. Let's move on to the main event because, like, honestly,
nobody cared about this.
I didn't really care about this match. The match was great. Okay, it was like an 8 out of 10. But there's really not much worth talking about.
You gave it an 8 out of 10. Then I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because again, it didn't have any build up for me. So.
Yeah, it didn't have any. Well, it had build up, but it didn't have any build up that was worth watching.
What was the storyline going into this match?
Yeah, they didn't have a storyline.
I won the Rumble, and my title's prettier than your baby. Also, I have more submissions than you. Ooh, what a compelling conflict, right?
I mean, I'm glad that Charlotte won, and they didn't just do the thing where they put the belt on Ronda Rousey. I really want to know what they're gonna do next.
I have no idea, man.
Because who's gonna face Charlotte? Are they gonna run it back at Backlash? Probably. But if you're just gonna have Ronda Rousey win the belt at Backlash, then why didn't you have her win it at WrestleMania? Because that makes more sense.
I don't know. Why didn't AEW have Thunder Rosa win at the?
Because they wanted her to win it on free TV, which makes zero fucking sense.
Again, making the comparison. But yeah, 7 out of 10 from me, 8 out of 10 from you. Move on to the main event, right? Which I did take notes on.
Main event was awesome.
Quite extensively, right? My number one note being that Kevin Owens is a national treasure. And he needs to be protected at all costs. Everything that Kevin Owens says is fucking amazing, right?
Oh yeah,
it's awesome. So I made the point to you during the show. The KO show, like people argue all the time about how what's the best talk show in WWE? Oh, it's Cutting Edge. Oh, it's Miz TV. Fuck all of that. The KO show is now automatically the most prestigious talk show in WWE history because it fucking main evented WrestleMania. With Stone Cold Steve Austin. It is the most prestigious talk show, and not because it's not a real talk show, but talk show segment. It's now the most prestigious.
Do you think Just to go back real quick, do you think the Charlotte Ronda match could have main evented? Because I think it was good
No,
enough.
absolutely not.
I disagree. I think it was good enough that it could have main evented the show, and people would have been fine with it.
You would have had to remove the Austin match. There is no way that you were going to bring Stone Cold Steve Austin to WrestleMania.
You could have had that first
in Dallas, Texas. Have him do the beer bath celebration, and then you go to fucking Charlotte and Ronda, because no one's going to give a shit. People would have started leaving. They're not going to care.
No, they would have put it on first.
What do you mean first?
Like they would have had the KO show the first thing on the show.
No,
they could have done that. But
I do not.
I agree with how it's placed. I agree it should have been the main event. But I think if they really wanted to, they could have put Ronda and Charlotte on last.
They could have, but they shouldn't. And they were smart enough to know, hey, this feud sucks. Nobody cares about this. And
maybe that's why they didn't have Ronda win.
Maybe.
I don't know.
They realized like oh shit, neither of these wrestlers have any reason to fight other than that this one won the Royal Rumble and for some reason challenged Charlotte, and it makes no sense, right?
Maybe they're gonna merge the women's titles at the next pay-per-view too. Maybe that's why.
I mean, they're already they're merging.
They're merging the men's titles, so maybe they're actually gonna kill the brand split. Who knows? That'd be pretty cool.
That's wishful thinking, but yeah, the KO show. Everything that KO says is like me and you were laughing the entire time. I love KO.
Oh yeah.
KO's just the way that KO delivers his lines, it has this aura of like it's like he's reading off a teleprompter, and it's like he's trying to hold back the laughter as he says the lines that he does. It's just, I love him, right? KO is such a down to earth, real guy.
I love his accent because Sami Zayn has the same accent, and they seem like they're so genuine and caring.
Again, yeah,
but they're saying awful things.
They seem so down to earth and genuine. Like when KO was facing Seth Rollins in the main event, right? And they were playing the promo, and there's all that Twitter footage of him watching it, and then he turns to the crowd and he goes, "We just saw this."
Yeah,
like KO is so in touch with the fans and a genuine guy. I fucking love KO. One of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time.
So I was of the opinion, to bring up the arguments before I lose my train of thought. Power scaling is a real thing. You've said this before.
Yes.
I think, obviously, Kevin Owens is our generation's Stone Cold Steve Austin. I say our generation. This generation now.
Yes.
Steve Austin.
Yeah.
He uses the stunner. He talks shit, and he's a badass, and he's a very likable babyface. I would argue he's a better babyface than a heel at this point. He can get anybody to boo him. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like Sami Zayn is the same way. Like, he can be the face of the company levels of babyface.
Yeah.
I think they shouldn't have done the match unless Kevin Owens was going to beat Steve Austin.
No, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, so
because
I'll do a bit
to defend my point. Power scaling is a real thing. What does Steve Austin have to gain?
And to explain what we mean when we talk about power scaling, all that we simply mean is that like for example, right? If I see Dolph Ziggler beat Roman Reigns, that automatically places Dolph Ziggler as the number 1 wrestler in terms of like how strong that he is in my head. So if I then see another wrestler beat Dolph Ziggler next week, that means that in my head that wrestler is also better than Roman Reigns. So if I were to see Roman Reigns beat that wrestler, like it wouldn't make any sense, is what I'm saying, right? There needs to be consistency in who is able to beat who, so that way you know this wrestler is stronger than this one and is stronger than this one. And the way the WWE does things is 50-50 booking. Nobody's stronger than anybody, and I don't like that.
Yeah. So the reason I say The Undertaker's last match should be against The Fiend is because The Fiend would be the next generation's Undertaker. The face of fear, the creepy, the spooky dude, right?
Yeah.
That's why if they wanted to, and Bray Wyatt came back, they could do one more match with Taker and have him officially retire. But he would go out on his back. He would lose. Because what does The Undertaker have to gain from beating The Fiend? What does Steve Austin have to gain at all from beating Kevin Owens? Nothing.
No.
Steve Austin is the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Right?
I don't even think that's an argument at this point.
And you kept on telling me,
if Kevin Owens beats Steve Austin, first of all, he's a dick for making him come out of retirement, so he gets heat from that. Second of all,
hold on, you kept saying Kevin Owens needs to win the match, and I had to stop you. I had to stop you right there because like this isn't really a match. Like they weren't building to a match. They were building to a talk show, and they both hated each other. And then on the fly, hey, do you want to fight? So Kevin Owens winning in a fucking on the fly, hey man, let's fight. I don't think that it benefits, and I don't think that it would benefit either of them to win, right? Because if Steve Austin were to lose, everybody would just know that they're like, oh, he's old and he's passing the torch. I don't think that it hurts Kevin Owens to lose at all. To go back to power scaling, like you said, Austin's the greatest of all time. He's like a 10 out of 10 best wrestler ever.
Yeah, that's great.
Kevin's not that. So having him lose to Steve Austin, it's like watching a fucking guy lose a fist fight to a gorilla. It's like, okay, I don't think less of you as a man for that.
I'm gonna make a football comparison you probably won't understand. If people say that Peyton Manning is the greatest quarterback of all time, he wins the Super Bowl and retires.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl against the Panthers. The defense won him that. He was one of the worst statistically rated quarterbacks in the league, but he went out with the sunset with the Super Bowl. Okay? People say he's the greatest of all time because of his statistics. That's an argument to be made for that. Steve Austin was not Steve Austin tonight in shape-wise.
No.
Like, he was visibly old, visibly walking with a limp. He didn't look like the Steve Austin that faced The Rock in his last match.
Yeah.
People were so fucking mad when Shawn Michaels came out of retirement to face The Undertaker. And, Shawn Michaels looked all right. He was still in shape and could still go, but it soured the experience. The only other person in wrestling that actually had a perfect retirement was Steve Austin. And he came out of retirement to fight Kevin Owens. If they just would, I don't know if it would have been okay with this either, but if they just would have said, hey, let's fight, and they just had a fight, and they didn't even ring a bell, they didn't make it a match, they didn't have a ref, they just had a fight, and he just came out and beat the shit out of Kevin Owens, that's one thing. But the fact that Kevin Owens, he's a former world champion in the company, prominent main event guy on Monday Night Raw, face of Monday Night Raw, some people would say, he got beat by an old man that was drinking beer and getting drunk during the fight, makes him look bad. Even though it's Steve Austin. Even though it's the greatest of all time. That, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
I don't think...
He was visibly beating the shit out of him and drinking beer while doing it. And it's cool. But if he was moving faster and actually being Steve Austin...
You make it sound like KO was just at the mercy of Austin the whole match. And it wasn't.
No, he got his stuff in too.
Yeah, it was a perfect 50-50. They were fighting each other, and then Austin got in the last stunner, right? And then he won, right?
It reminded me of the Goldberg-Undertaker match.
The match should not have happened. I agree with you. What should have happened is just the talk show, and then they
just fought.
And then they get mad and they get into a fist fight, and then he beats him up, right? And then if you want to humiliate him, then it's like whatever. It's not a match, right? And then you can have your celebration. But they had the match.
Then Kevin Owens doesn't lose to Steve Austin.
Yeah. Putting aside what it does, right? The match itself was fine. The match was okay.
It was alright, yeah.
It was like a 6, whatever. I'd put it on par with the Corbin match. It was just an alright match, with the addition of an ATV and beer and chairs and all that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the match shouldn't have happened. You kept saying Kevin Owens should win, and I told you, yeah, he should, but he's not gonna, because there's no way in fuck that they're gonna fly Austin out of retirement in his home state to lose, right? They want to end off Mania on a happy note. They want to end it off on the Austin theme and drinking beer and everybody's celebrating and fucking Texas. They want to end it on that.
I think a week from now, Steve Austin's gonna look back on this and be like really pissed at himself for doing it, because A, he looked old. B, he technically came out of retirement. And C, he beat someone that he has a lot of respect for, and he's old school, and he fully believes in going out on your back. Just like Taker. That's what he did with The Rock when he retired. He lost. You're supposed to lose on your last match. That's the old school way to go.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Kevin Owens, it's just like, I would say the same thing with Sting. When Scorpio Sky faced Sting in his first match back from retirement, he must have been through the roof that he got to lose the Sting. That was probably a badge of honor to him.
Yeah.
But to us, the fans, it's just like, man, we always talk shit on every time that they bring the old guys back and they basically humiliate the talent.
Yeah.
And this is the main event of WrestleMania. You cannot get more bigger deal than this.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make a big star in Kevin Owens, and then they just bring Steve Austin back to beat him up and beat him in a match.
So let me ask you this: what would you rate this whole main event?
Whole main event,
talk show and finale.
Well, 5 out of 5 stars, because the talk show was very entertaining.
Just no, like the whole segment, talk show and the match combined into one, because it was just the main event. This was all.
Yeah, the main event was great because it was entertaining, and the point is entertainment.
Yeah, I'm not doing stars. I'm doing the numbers. I don't like doing star ratings. I don't know.
Okay, I'll do. It was probably like an 8 out of 10 for me then.
That's what I'd give it.
It was very entertaining.
Like I said, I'm a huge Kevin Owens cuck, and he's awesome, and Austin is awesome. The fans were really into it. Beer was awesome, and
I think it was cool because all the fans played along with it. Like everybody knew Austin, his knees were bad, and he wasn't going to be able to move very quick. But like,
yeah, that's right. The fans were chanting, "You still got it," right?
Yeah, the fans were playing along.
Kevin Owens took some nasty bumps for Austin. He just fucking launched himself through a table.
They do the same thing if Taker came back tomorrow and wrestled someone. Like, you still got it. One more match. They were chanting that shit last night.
Yeah.
It's really sad when you see. So when Sting's career, I keep making the Sting comparison, but when Sting's career is literally ended by Seth Rollins breaking his back pretty much, and then he goes to AEW and he's jumping off fucking ladders through tables and stuff.
So hard during
and just absolutely having the time of his life. And then you look at Steve Austin. It's really sad that he's that fucked up. Like
which is what Kevin Owens was making jokes out of. The whole time. Kevin Owens cut a great promo where he said, "Oh, Austin's just a sad old man living on a farm who's lonely, so he begs actual wrestlers to come and be on his little talk show so he can talk to people." I will end talking about this segment by saying Byron Saxton is through a great. It reminded me of The Rock in a way where like when Stone Cold would stunner The Rock would drop to his knees and then bounce up. That's what fucking Byron did. It was great.
You're tracking that's like a running joke. That every time Steve comes back, he has to stunner Byron Saxton. Because he did it at the Raw Reunion show, and then he did it again at the 316 day during the pandemic.
I don't remember Byron Saxton even being on the commentary team for that match.
I'm pretty sure he just came out to get stunnered.
He just came out of nowhere. Hey man, gave him a beer, fucking stuttered him, and he sold the shit out of it. I thought it was hilarious that the final shot, because usually it's tradition that okay, you're out of the match, roll out of the ring and let the guy have his moment.
Yeah.
As the camera zoomed out on him drinking beer and the logo staying there, you could just see Byron Saxton's lifeless corpse in the corner the entire time for the outro. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Overall, does this main event leave a sour taste in my mouth? No, not the same way that HBK going to Saudi Arabia. Because at least he did it in WrestleMania, and he didn't go to Saudi to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy for that. But the fact that we can sit here and definitively say that Goldberg coming out of retirement is better than Steve Austin.
I mean, I don't agree with that at all. But...
His match with Bobby Lashley was better than this match.
Okay, one good match as opposed to how many fucking matches did he have? No, it's not better.
He's had like 10 matches.
And Austin's just doing one. So no, I don't think that Goldberg's was better at all. The match, I love the match against Lashley, but that doesn't compensate for the fact that I had to see him 10 times.
Too much Goldberg. Yeah. Hopefully this is his actual retirement match.
I think it's a good note to go out on.
Yeah.
Gets to be in his home state, gets to drink some beer, gets to show that he's the quote unquote only definitive Austin, right? Or version of Austin, right? Which you may not agree with, but again, it's a happy note to go off on. So whatever. They like to have Manias go out on a happy note for the most part.
So where does KO go from here?
Where does KO go from here? What show is he on?
He's on Raw.
I don't know.
He's obviously gonna face Cody Rhodes at some point.
I mean, yeah, everybody's gonna face Cody Rhodes at some point.
Maybe they do a tag team thing with him and Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, and they're not going to bring Ted DiBiase Jr. back. I would love to see Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton team up again, but
yeah, there's options. There's always going to be a place for KO. He's great.
The main question is how are they going to handle the World Championship situation in WWE moving forward? We're going to have probably more answers tomorrow night.
I was going to say that wraps up the whole show, and as a whole, this was way better than I thought it was going to be. I'd give this whole show a 9 out of 10, honestly.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I was thoroughly... The build up to this was shit, but even despite that, it's WrestleMania.
When WWE books themselves into a corner, they have no choice but to just absolutely blow everybody away. It's WrestleMania. Same thing happened at Money in the Bank last year.
It's WrestleMania, and I'm a fucking loser, and I get really excited, really excited for WrestleMania. So you and me were like,
isn't it crazy how we look at so SummerSlam was booked amazing. It was like everybody was so excited, and it was horrible. It was so WrestleMania was booked as if it was the worst show of the year, and it's probably the best show of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to watch part 2 tomorrow. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I think.
I feel like it might be a similar situation where there was only one match on this card that I didn't care about, and it was the bad match, right? That might be tomorrow with the women's tag team match.
I think that match is actually going to be really good. Because it's the only women's match on the card tomorrow. And look at the people who are in the match are all great.
Yeah, I guess.
Shayna and Natty are great. Rhea Ripley's amazing. Liv Morgan's great.
Yeah,
Sasha Banks. Like, we all know who's going to win.
it's the women's tag team. I don't fucking care. It's a women's tag team match.
Look at it like this. Nobody cares. But if you watch the match and it's good, it's a treat.
That'll be the match where I make the next thumbnail for probably.
The match that I'm looking the most forward to tomorrow, other than, the Edge match, is probably the RK Bro match. I think that match is going to just blow everything else out of the water on the entire card.
We'll have to see tomorrow, man. I'm going to try to get this uploaded tonight, so it'll be super late. I don't expect anybody to listen to it this late. But if you have been listening, given that it came out so late, thank you for spending... How long have you been spending? Hour and a half. Thank you for spending an hour and a half with us listening to our take on WrestleMania 38 Night 1. We will be uploading tomorrow for WrestleMania Night 2, so if you're a fan of wrestling and if you want to know what our take was on WrestleMania as a whole pay-per-view, then stay tuned for next episode, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.